Situation Report, The Blind Spots. Date: February 2026. Subject: Beyond the Headlines, What the Mainstream Narrative is Missing. While the global media cycle is entirely consumed by the spectacle of President Trump's 15% retaliatory global tariff, the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor over the Epstein files, and the immediate threat of kinetic conflict in the Middle East and Ukraine, several deeper, structural shifts are occurring under the radar. By analyzing the datasets across February 2026, a distinct pattern of shadow trends emerges. These are the critical developments that are not dominating front pages, but will ultimately dictate the geopolitical reality of the next decade. 1. The sovereign AI infrastructure land grab. The headline: The Pentagon is fighting with Anthropic over the military use of the Claude AI model. The unreported reality. The real AI war is not about software governance. It is a physical land grab for energy and hardware in the global south. India's quiet ascension. The media has largely glossed over the sheer scale of the Adani Group's $100 billion investment to build AI-ready data centers by 2035, and OpenAI's massive 1 gigawatt pivot with the Tata Group. The implication: nations like India are refusing to be digital client states of the US or China. They are leveraging their massive energy grids and demographic weight to build sovereign AI ecosystems. The future of AI dominance relies on who controls the physical energy grid in the developing world, bypassing Western regulatory bottlenecks. 2. The death of the sanctions regime and the grey economy. The headline: President Trump imposes a 15% global tariff. The US boards a sanctioned Venezuelan oil tanker in the Indian Ocean. The unreported reality: traditional economic warfare, tariffs and sanctions, is failing as the grey economy reaches absolute maturity. The bypass: intelligence reports confirm that Hong Kong and mainland Chinese entities are successfully funneling restricted, European-made military tech directly to the Russian war machine. The implication: US tariffs and Western sanctions are no longer isolating adversaries. They are instead forcing the creation of an impenetrable, parallel global supply chain. Secondary powers, like Indonesia and Vietnam, are actively playing the US and China against each other to secure tariff exemptions, effectively gutting the impact of Washington's economic ultimatums. 3. The privatization of international diplomacy. The headline: Trump hosts the Board of Peace in Washington to secure $5 billion and later $7 billion for Gaza reconstruction. The unreported reality: we are witnessing the corporate buyout of the United Nations. The institutional collapse. The Vatican's refusal to join the Board of Peace is a glaring red flag regarding the initiative's moral legitimacy. However, the board represents a shift toward transactional peacekeeping. The implication: by bypassing the UN Security Council, the US is shifting global conflict resolution from a model of international law to a model of corporate venture capital. Peace is now being funded by private and allied state pledges, meaning reconstruction will be tied to strict economic and resource concessions rather than humanitarian ideals. 4. The Epstein files, the AGI connection. The headline: Andrew Mountbatten Windsor arrested. Billionaire Les Wexner testifies. Corporate titans resign. The unreported reality: the media is heavily focused on the salacious and political angles, for example, Steve Bannon's plots against the Pope or royal family espionage, but missing the technological infiltration. The Tech Nexus. The files reveal that Jeffrey Epstein was not just blackmailing politicians, he was aggressively funding the foundational architecture of artificial general intelligence, AGI. His funding of pioneers like Ben Goertzel to secure $8.9 million in Hong Kong grants and attempts to infiltrate hacker conferences, DFCon, reveal a deliberate strategy. The implication: the Epstein network recognized early that true global leverage in the 21st century would come from controlling data, machine learning, and autonomous agents, merging high-level statecraft with Silicon Valley's most unregulated frontiers. 5. Climate-driven microstate failures. The headline: severe weather across the globe. For example, historic floods in Valencia, 36 days of rain in France, extreme heat in South Africa. The unreported reality: climate change is acting as an aggressive threat multiplier, leading to the quiet collapse of local governance and the rise of unregulated, deadly shadow industries. The resource tragedy: the gas explosion at an illegal lead mine in Plateau State, Nigeria, that killed 38 miners is directly linked to this. As extreme weather and geopolitical shocks devastate traditional agricultural economies, vulnerable populations are forced into unregulated, hazardous extraction industries just to survive. The implication: while superpowers argue over nuclear deterrence in Geneva and Munich, localized regions in Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia are experiencing institutional decay, creating vacuums that are quickly filled by cartels, terrorists, and mercenary groups. Strategic conclusion: the mainstream media is focused on the actors, Trump, Putin, Zelensky, the UK royals, and their immediate kinetic actions. What is being missed is the structural decay beneath them. We are rapidly transitioning into a world where corporate tech giants hold more geopolitical sway than the Pentagon, where the global supply chain has learned to root around the US dollar, and where control of AI data centers in the global south will dictate the next half-century of global power.